What's up, everybody? We're the Duderes coming at you with another awesome video. I'm Todd.
I'm Jeremy.
And today we are going to be talking about the Super Smash Bros. Ballot that was just announced during the Nintendo Direct that just happened a few days ago. Now, this is an absolutely crazy development. So, Jeremy, what do you think about this?
This is a really interesting concept to see Nintendo do this. I mean, they're reaching out to us, the fans, and asking us for our input as to who do we want in Smash. And I cannot recall of anybody else ever doing something like this, specifically asking us, who do you want to play as? So, I mean, we got a couple here, we got a couple here that we're interested in, and then we've also got a list that we, which seem to be the front runners. Not sure the validity of the list, but...
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's crazy, the director of Super Smash Bros., Sakurai, said that, after Mewtwo, there would be no DLC. And then they announced Lucas. And then they said, oh, by the way, we're going to be letting the fans decide the next Smash Bros. Fighter. So, this is just an absolutely huge development, especially after he said, nope, no more after Mewtwo. You are crazy. You are crazy if you think, otherwise. So, I'm very much happy because, it gives us a chance to, I don't know, make the game what we want it to be. We get to add one fighter, or some people are now guessing that we're going to be having more than just one fighter, that it could be up to 4 fighters that we could be getting over the course of the next year.
It would be crazy for them to do simply one fighter. I mean, that would be a totally ignorant idea on Nintendo's part. Not that Nintendo is beyond making poor decisions, as we've seen with other things. That's a totally different story. But, I mean, it would just not be a good idea for them to say, okay, well, so-and-so is the most popular fighter. He's going to be the next person in Smash. Thanks for voting. Tough luck to everybody else. Honestly, if they reach into that pot and, maybe the top 5 of the voting and say, this is who's going to be coming to Smash over the course of the next year or so, then that's the way to do it. And, I mean, given how popular the current version of Smash is, it would also be really ignorant to think that this is how it's going to be, that there's only going to be one extra fighter. I mean, they would be really missing an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we're jumping into it fairly early. I mean, this contest is only about 5 days old, if that, I think. So, it's it has exploded. I mean, the internet is it's a battlefield out there, let me tell you. I mean, now the fact that they have confirmed that it can be any character. Any character can be up for consideration, considering, characters that are owned by, for example, Microsoft, like Banjo-Kazooie, or, if they wanted, the possibilities are literally endless. Nintendo is considering every single character that's being put in. And, how you said that, well, here's the most popular character because they got voted the most. I have a feeling Nintendo thinks about it more than just how many votes it gets. I think they're just that type of company, which is a good thing, because I think they genuinely look at what people have written down in the boxes that they've provided and think, okay, well, is this number one, is this character popular? Number 2, does this character have unique qualities that could really add more depth to Smash? And do they have a potential for a great moveset? Yeah. And I really, really, really hope that is the case, because, if they just do it by popularity, we're going to get some really stupid characters.
I mean, I would agree with that. But, like, you brought up Banjo-Kazooie, and that one specifically was brought up, Rare is owned by Microsoft now, but Phil Spencer, he tweeted out, it was either yesterday or early today.
It was the other day, yeah.
Yeah. He actually tweeted that, they were okay with that Microsoft was okay with it, that they've worked with Nintendo on rare IPs in the past, so they really saw no problem with it. I'm sure there'd be a little bit of, kind of some kind of deal going on between Microsoft and Nintendo for that to happen. Maybe Nintendo throwing a couple bucks Microsoft's way in order to, for some rights to use the character, which would be understandable, which was likely going to have to happen if any third-party character actually gets added to the game. But I mean, at least we see that, other people that we kind of might have thought would be closed off to this. Like, I really didn't think Microsoft would go for that at all. So this was a surprise to me. But it's good to see that they're on board with this, that they think it's a good idea, and we may see things like this happening more so with other games, dependent on the success of this.
Yeah. Yep. So, it's an interesting situation. Nintendo hasn't confirmed nor denied that it's only going to be one character. So, I mean, we're all kind of guessing. Now, the other interesting thing is, before we start heading to this viable contenders list, is it's just, to me, it's kind of weird that how far away the deadline is. All the way on October 3rd, I believe it was. So, I mean, I believe that's 6 months away. I could be wrong. I could be a little wrong, but I'm thinking this is going to be the only Smash Brothers fighter ballot, and they're over the next 6 months, they're going to take into consideration all the characters, and then this is the only allotted time that they're going to look at, characters, and, once it's done, they're going to release the characters that they think are the best.
Well, I think that they've got this extended, the deadline is so far out simply so they can compile a massive list, and have a really good judge of, what's popular, what do people want, and go from there. I mean, if they did this as a 2-week, thing, then it just wouldn't work well.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, I can only imagine the number of emails, or, I guess it wouldn't be emails, but results that they got from this already, and it's only been it's already been less than a week. They still got another 5 months to go. So, yeah, it's really, really, really exciting. But we did find an image floating around online. I believe this is from 4chan. We will link it in the description for you guys to look at as we talk about it. And this is the Smash Bros. Fighter Ballot Viable Contenders list. Someone has put together a complete list, not really a complete list, but, they ranked it using the following criteria, which includes popularity, the series' success, the viability as a fighter, and contribution to Nintendo's history and licensing constraints. And this was made before it was confirmed that any character is eligible. So this is really technically, out of date, but it's still a good idea of what people want.
Yeah,
so
it's an interesting list. I mean, it put into perspective, a few characters that I actually hadn't thought about. Mm-hmm. Like, just to, we'll get more into that when we start naming some of these fighters off, but it definitely made me think about some of the choices about what I would personally like to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, let's take a look-see at that. Some of the more prominent characters that are being voted for. Now, what I've pretty much gathered from looking at Reddit and 4chan and literally every other news site and all this other stuff, it seems that King K. Rool from Donkey Kong seems to be the most popular choice in both America and I think Japan as well, I believe. I could be wrong, but King K. Rool, at least in America, is winning by huge amounts.
I mean, I personally, I don't really care for the Donkey Kong series and would have never, even thought that K. Rool would be this popular. I mean, honestly, my first thought when this contest came up is I thought about Splatoon simply because they already had the amiibos for them coming out. And, the Inkling is number 2 on this list, and would have been the one that I thought would be the most popular. And I think because the amiibos are coming out of them, that I think it's very likely that we're going to see it in Smash.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and they seem like a Smash-type character. Like, they seem like they would have a, like a really good move pool, know? And I think they would be fairly unique with the ink and what they could do with the ink, and I feel like most of their attacks would be gun based, and there's really not a lot of characters that really have guns except maybe Star Fox and Falco, but that's only one.
Yeah, Samus. I mean, I honestly I feel like that they might work a little bit like Omar in a way. That you would kind of shoot the ink onto somebody, it might like stun them, slow them down, a lot like the gameplay in Splatoon.
Yeah.
I think that might work like that a little bit, and we'd have different smashes with the paint roller and the different
And
types
the
of guns.
gun, yep. There's a lot of customization that's offered by the Inkling. And here, let's list off a few other really popular ones. I mean, you've got Chibi Robo, you have Wonder Red from the Wonderful 101, Isaac from Golden Sun, Paper Mario, Crystal from Star Fox, Cranky Kong, Skeptile, and Impa from Impa from The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
These are the really, really popular ones that a lot of people want in.
One that you didn't mention that I really liked is Andy. Now, for those that you don't know, I don't know if you know who Andy is, Todd. He was from Advanced Wars. He was.
No, see, that's why I didn't say anything. That's why I didn't say his name. I didn't know who he was.
He's been in all the Advanced Wars, to my knowledge. He was the protagonist in the first few games, again, to my knowledge. I had the first two on the original Game Boy Advance. I thought that would be a kind of interesting thing. I think he would play a bit like the Pokemon trainer. So, he would have different things that would cause airplanes and tanks to appear and do different things. When we talked a little bit about this off screen, I thought that, if they should bring the Pokemon trainer back. Seeing him, not so much. I'd rather have him, and he could play a lot like the Pokemon trainer, just with, military vehicles.
Yeah. And if you look at this list, there are actually a lot of Pokemon that are thrown up there, like Skeptile, Blaziken, Hawlucha, and for some goddamn reason, Machamp.
I think Machamp is on this list because he's in that Pokemon Tekken game.
Yeah, Pokken Fighters. Yeah. And he's also, he's a fighting Pokemon, but. There's the argument that there are a lot of franchises that are represented, and Mario and Pokemon are, of course, Nintendo's, bread and butter, and they're the most successful franchises that Nintendo has, and that they are overrepresented. And to be honest, they really, really are. They're adding Mewtwo. Mario has always had like 5+ characters represented. People say franchises like Donkey Kong and Zelda don't have enough characters, for example.
Yeah.
Hence why they want Impa or Lana from Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah. Well, and before we get out of this top portion of this list, I mean, there's two other ones that I think that need to be mentioned. I think that Abe Lincoln from Codename Steam would be a good way to kind of promote that game, and I think he could add a interesting mix into the game. And plus, he's voiced by Will Wheaton, and we all. You know who he is, that's great. And then there's Slippy Toad. Now, most people either love or hate Slippy Toad.
That's just a troll character. Like that's what a lot of these characters on here are trolls. Like,
I mean, the one thing about Slippy Toad, and if they got him in there, his final smash needs to be everybody else has to come and save him. Because if there's one thing I remember about playing Star Fox is that he was always the one that was getting shot at and screaming, "Fox, save me!"
Yeah. God. I mean, yeah. I think a lot of these are in fact troll characters. I think some of them aren't. But the thing is, and what I really, really want to address is the thing that a lot of people had with the initial roster is the fact that there are a number of clones. In the game, like Dark Pit and Dr. Mario, for example, and Lucina. But people have voted for characters like Daisy and characters like let's see what else is there that are complete. Dixie Kong.
Well, Blaziken would play pretty much like Lucario.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, why even include Daisy, for example? Sure, she's a character, but for God's sakes, Peach, she's gonna have the same moveset as Peach, and Peach has a freaking alternate costume color that's supposed to match Daisy's color palette.
Well, I mean, K. Rool's gonna play pretty much like Bowser. If I was to guess,
I think K. Rool can have a unique moveset. I really think he can. And a lot of people say, that Donkey Kong isn't really properly represented, and, it'd be cool to include one of the antagonists from the series while they always have, the protagonists of Donkey Kong in there. I do love Donkey Kong, but, I don't really care about King K. Rool, And I think Inkling would be a really smart decision just because that's a great way to promote their new game.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the designs of the Inklings. Everybody loves the Inklings in general.
And include them much like Robin in Smash. Put both the male and the female version in Inkling. Just select which one you want to play as. Just like you would for Robin. Yeah. I think that would be a smart way to do it.
Definitely. Another thing is that people are scared of too many sword wielders. For example, Isaac would be just another generic sword wielder. I don't care what anyone says, that's what he'd be. Impa would certainly be. While she is a very cool character, I do think she is, especially in Hyrule Warriors. I do think she'd be on the edge of just another sword wielder.
Yeah.
Unless she'd be a heavy sword wielder,
Lana would be a better character to include from Hyrule Warriors.
She would be. Yeah. Yep. And why the fuck is Captain Toad on here? Fuck all of you.
Well, I mean, you haven't played Captain Toad yet, have you?
No, God, no.
I mean, if you like puzzle games, but I mean,
he's specifically slow. He wouldn't work in the game. He would not work in the game.
Well, it would be interesting to see them try to do it. I mean, I like Captain Toad. I don't necessarily think he'd be a good Smash character, but it'd still be kind of entertaining.
I think other fun ones, example, I've never played Elite Beat, but I think that would be an interesting character to throw in. I don't know if it would be all three of them, or if it would just be one guy, with alternate, looks or whatever.
Play a bit
lanky,
like Wii Fit Trainer.
And one of them that popped out that was interesting is Fossil Hero, because, man, that Fossil Fighter franchise kind of blew up.
Yeah.
Like, people love that stuff.
I mean, two of them that are on this list, we have Karate Joe and Chorus Kids. What are those from? Are they from the Wario mini games?
Chorus Kids is from something. I don't remember off the top of my head. You might have to Google it. Two other characters, and see, here's two more examples of characters that are kind of trolly. Bandana D and Groose. Why? Why? So, it just kind of, just like, and that kind of just proves our argument with, it doesn't matter how many votes Groose is going to get, or, Bandana D or Halucha or whatever, I think Nintendo is going to be like, they're looking for viable, real fighters. And even though, Paper Mario is a clone, but I actually wouldn't mind Paper Mario because I love that franchise.
Yeah. I mean, kind of moving into the next section of the list is there's a list, a section on here that says already appearing. They're already in Smash Brothers 4 and cannot be removed or reintroduced as paid DLC. Maybe next time.
See, I call bullshit on that.
This list has little, subtext for pretty much for everything, and I'm with you. I'm gonna call bullshit. While I think a lot of people would cry foul if Nintendo decided to introduce some of these characters as a paid DLC, but right now most of them are either just assist trophies or trophies. I mean, like Minda, she's an assist trophy, but I still think she would work really, really well as a playable character.
She'd be fun. I love her. I think she's a great Zelda character.
I mean, I picture her Final Smash involving the Wolf Link. I mean,
well, it's something about the Twilight, whatever the hell it's called. I haven't played Twilight Princess in years. I know another big one was Waluigi, but no, please don't. And see, I've been meaning to say this. I'm going to be really, really upset if a Mario character, a Pokemon character, or a Zelda character get chosen if it's just one thing, because honestly, that is such a waste. Let's do a super unique, awesome character that's just gonna add a lot of depth that really wouldn't have much of a chance. I think even though I love Shadow, that's just gonna be a Sonic clone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Shadow. I think I think he would work best if they would just had him be a reskin, and as Sonic. But I mean, what about other Sonic's characters? Knuckles, Tails.
Oh, Knuckles
Amy.
is a big one. Knuckles is a really big one. Apparently, a lot of people want Knuckles.
I mean, there's a lot of Sonic characters out there. I mean,
Yeah, some people said Dr. Eggman. I'm like, nah.
that would be
Nope.
that would be
No.
kind of cool.
Nah. I'd rather have Knuckles. Knuckles has a lot more potential than frickin' Dr. frickin' Eggman.
I mean, another one that's on this list. I mean, well, we've got Tingle. I think he'd kind of weird to play. Skull Kid, but
Skull Kid would be an interesting one. Skull Kid would be really interesting.
I picture him to, he'd be kind of really, really fast, and most of his moves would involve jumping. But Ridley. I think Ridley would be kind of cool.
Well, Sakurai already said, he's just too big. We'd have to make his wings smaller or whatever. And the fact that he is part of a stage where you can partially control him or he can be on your side, I feel like that does really take him out of the running.
Very true.
So, yeah. Tom Nook. Fuck you all.
But
I mean, the only thing I can see him doing is slapping people with bills.
What about Mr. Rossetti?
Oh God, he would just reset the game, or he'd just get pissed at you if you reset the game or something. But anyway, so those are probably the least most interesting. Oh wait, don't put Isabelle as a fighter. How dare you? She's adorable. She's cute. She knows how to manage things. She does not fight. How dare you all? She's adorable.
She's a number cruncher, not a fighter.
Yeah, and a daydreamer. But now, those are pretty much the least interesting characters. Now, let's move into the section that is the most interesting characters, which are the third-party characters. Now, the fact that Nintendo said that, yes, any character is in the running, this really opens up a huge amount of characters. Now, let's point out the most interesting characters that that are really third-party characters, and that would be Banjo-Kazooie, Shovel Knight, Bayonetta, Rayman, and Shantae.
Now, before we jump more into this, I want to point out Rayman. He's already a trophy in the game. And there was that troll video a while back where it showed that he was going to be introduced to the game. I honestly think out of the third parties, right now, he's the most likely.
I don't know. I really hope Rayman doesn't get in. I feel like that would be a terrible decision because, I mean, his games are fun, but I would not want him as a Smash Brothers character.
Yeah. I think one of the ones out of this list that would work the best is Beautiful Joe. That's me.
Yeah, a lot of people want Beautiful Joe.
I think he'd be kind of crazy to play as, but
he'd be a fun character.
I mean, Banjo-Kazooie, I think...
God, oh man, people have wanted him ever since Melee.
People just love rare games, and it's sad that we don't get very many of them. But,
you've got Simon Belmont as well.
Yeah.
From Castlevania.
Yeah. I mean, but, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people like Shovel Knight. I mean, I have not played that game.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure of the appeal. It just kind of seems kind of odd.
People say he brought a lot to the table, but he really didn't. What he did was kind of take everything that was good and implemented it in an excellent way.
Yeah. I mean, Bayonetta, I don't like at all on this list.
She's a popular one though.
I know she's popular, but if you've played the game at all, have you played the game at all?
I've seen a lot of gameplay. I want to get the second one, but I just don't have the funds.
I mean, pretty much, in the first game, which is the one that I did get to play, the higher you got, her entire, thing is that her hair is her clothes and things like that, and it's part of her magic, So the higher your combos and the more crazy shit that you did, the less clothing she would have. So there's that. That's why I really don't think she would work in Smash, which is supposed to be more of a family kind of, game. I mean,
and a lot of people would argue that, well, look at Zero Suit Samus, look at Shulk. If they can throw those in there, Bayonetta should be able to be censored to a point where she can be put in the game.
True. But honestly, I'd rather have Snake back in the game than Bayonetta.
Yeah, and it looks like Konami has been pushing Snake, or at least retweeting it and saying yes, we wouldn't mind that at all. Now, to me, and to be perfectly frank, I think the most likely characters out of the third party are going to be Shovel Knight and Shantae. And Bayonetta as well. I'm going to throw Bayonetta in there. Now, to be perfectly frank, the character that I want, the very most that I have tweeted about it, I have, have this blown up tweet on my Twitter that, that was retweeted by the original creator of her and all that other stuff, is Shantae. Now, Shantae has been with Nintendo for 13 years. Her first game was, a number of her games have been exclusive, except for the newest one, which is going to be Half Genie Hero, which will be multi-platform. But she has been with Nintendo for years, and she can be considered an indie in some of her games. And her first game is considered to be one of the best games for the original Game Boy Advanced. All her games are critically acclaimed. I can just go on about this character, and I just want to add, why I think she'd be the best is because not only is she a female, which would, add more variety to it, I just think that her move set would just be so interesting and so cool and so varied, and I just think she would add so much, and a lot of people are saying she's got an advantage over Shovel Knight because she's had a longer, relationship with Nintendo, and she's a better representation of the indie, of Nintendo's indie, thing. I don't really know the right word for it.
Yeah.
The indie community.
I'm going to have to agree. I mean, I didn't know a lot about Shantae when you first started talking about her. I spent some time last couple of days actually reading on her and figuring out what your big deal with her was. And her concept is really, really interesting, how she came about, her, using dances to transform into things,
uses her hair as a whip.
Which that whole idea came about with the with the from the creator and her 9-foot long hair and so I mean the concept of this character was brought up by this woman and that her husband fleshed it out and they came up with the idea of her hair because the wife's hair was 9 feet long.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think, this is just me. I think there is a number of great characters, and one that's not listed, which I'll get to, is Travis Touchdown. But if I had to choose only one character get into Smash Brothers, I would choose Shantae, bar none. Just nothing, just no one else can top her, in my opinion.
But you would add Travis Touchdown would be another sword wielder.
I think he's interesting enough with his weapon to make it different.
Yeah, I think he would work well. I mean, a couple characters that I've gotten written down here. Earthworm Jim. I mean, yeah, it hasn't been around in a long time, and I think that would kind of bring him back out. I loved Earthworm Jim as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And Zero from Mega Man. He's a sword wielder, but I love Zero, and we've got one Mega Man character.
Yeah.
Let's give us something different. I mean, you could add Proto Man, but he would play pretty much identical to Mega Man.
Yeah, a lot of people said that the fact that, Capcom is a part of this and that there's only one, representation of Mega Man, that a lot of people think that a Mega Man character is very much likely, if there's going to be more than one character, that they'll throw a Mega Man character in there to help,
I think if they're going to pull another Capcom character, I think they would do Beautiful Joe over another Mega Man character. Just me.
I kind of hope so, because I feel like, at least, I've never played Beautiful Joe, but from what I've seen from the very small amount of gameplay, I mean, I think it'd be a super interesting, stylistic character,
Beautiful Joe, he reminds me a lot of Deadpool in a way, so with him breaking the fourth wall and just being, overly, funny. There's another character that I thought would work, but, you brought it up, is I kind of thought the Project Mirai Vocaloids would be kind of fitting, but like you said, they're cute and they don't necessarily need to be beat up on.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact is that I don't think they're not near as popular enough to get thrown in anyway.
I think it would be popular enough in Japan to work, but I'm not so much here. Yeah. One thing that's really surprised me that's not on this list, well, not really on this list, it's represented by one, that's Black Mage, but there's not really any Final Fantasy characters. I'm really surprised that we don't have Cloud and Sephiroth in every single category, filling every square, because that seems to be everything that happens every time there's a vote for characters for something.
Yeah, there's some Dragon Quest characters, like Slime, for example.
And,
at least I think that's from Dragon Quest.
Yeah, and there's Chrono from Chrono Trigger, or Chrono Crusade, whichever.
Professor Layton, I don't think would work. Phoenix Wright, I don't think would work, despite how popular they are. They just wouldn't work.
Yeah, I mean... Phoenix Wright, isn't he in one of the Capcom fighting games?
He could be.
I'm
not sure. That sounds right. But to me, I want a character that is actually a fighter that does physical things in their original games, and that's why, they don't do that. So, action heroes. I mean, I want Cooking Mama. I'd love to see Cooking Mama in Smash Brothers. She cooks, but, I still think that would be, awesome.
Projectile cakes.
Yeah, throw cakes and fillet of fish and all sorts of shit.
Make an object as a move. Either throw it or eat it and regain health.
Yeah, and it's like the whole stage turns into a giant oven, and she starts flipping characters and stuff.
I mean, the Okami character's interesting. That's on the list. I mean, I never got to play Okami, but I know I see a lot of him, and he kind of looks like he'd be interesting to play, considering there's not very many.
Animals.
Well, yeah,
there's not many animals.
Well, there's not any non-humanoids that I can think of in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Bomberman is another one that people said they wanted, but I mean, I would say that's the entire list. We kind of covered the most important, or at least the most prominent ones, but I guess we should maybe wrap this up here. Give me the ones first. Give me the 5 or the 4 or 5. It doesn't matter which one. Of the characters that you personally want to see in Smash, and it does not have to be in this list.
My 5. I would say the Inkling, Andy, Zero, Earthworm Jim, and Beautiful Joe.
Okay, very cool. My top 4 or 5 would be characters like Shantae. Let's see, the Inkling. I wouldn't mind Paper Mario all that much, but I don't think he's going to be on my list. Shantae, Inkling. I wouldn't mind Midna. Banjo-Kazooie would be a cool one. I mean, I'll be perfectly frank, I don't really have a list. And these are characters that I just wouldn't mind seeing in Smash at all. In fact, I would like to see them sometime.
You just care about your Shantae.
Yeah, I mean, the only character I personally care about, everybody, is Shantae. Shantae is the only fucking character I want to see. I adore her, and Way Forward, by the way, the creators of Shantae are super, super into Smash Brothers, and they want to see Shantae in it, and they have been really pushing her through their Twitter accounts and stuff, and they even went as far as they had their art department make color palettes for Shantae, and they even made her little logo that's always used for, you know what I'm talking about, for every character. Mario's the mushroom.
Yeah, I saw the thing that they made for her. It'd be really cool. I mean, I've never got to play a Shantae game. Definitely will have to rectify that. But the more I learn about her, the more she seems interesting, and I would be more than happy to play as her in Smash. So I mean, I'm right there with you to think that she would be great for this.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that's like that's like an advantage she's got, that her creators are really gung ho about it, and they went as far as making quote unquote official color palette switches. She's got outfits on from other characters in the series, like Roddy Tops or Risky Boots. So yeah, or even her pirate costume from her latest game, The Pirate's Curse. So those are really the characters that I wouldn't mind seeing. And I wouldn't mind seeing like a switch from of Sonic and Shadow. I think that'd be cool, because I think Shadow's pretty cool. Another Donkey Kong character I guess wouldn't be bad. Chibi Robo, for some reason, I feel like would be fun.
Yeah, Chibi Robo would be fun to play as, but
in Impa and Lana, I would not mind at all.
No.
But I feel like you said before, I feel like Lana would be much more interesting. Okay, now give me 3 or 4 characters that you personally think just have the most chances without your personal taste involved. Who do you think is just the most, the easiest choices that you think would be for Smash?
I think the top 3 characters most likely to end up in Smash. Number 1's going to be the Inkling. Number 2, probably Crystal, and I would go probably Paper Mario.
Throw in a third-party character just in case, because they might want to do that as well.
Oh, out of the third-party characters, I think Shantae probably has the, I think she's more likely. Her and Rayman are probably right there with each other. I think Rayman might have a little bit of an edge simply because they already have that trophy of him in the game. But I think Shantae would be more enjoyable to play as.
Yeah. Mine would probably be King K. Rool, because he's so desired and he's a Donkey Kong character. Nintendo owns him. It's easy. The Inkling, I think it would be, not only would they be a super fun character, a super unique character, it's also great advertising for Splatoon. Let's see. Let's scroll down the list here. Third-party character, I'm always just going to say Shantae. I think Shantae's got a great chance. To be honest, I do think Bayonetta, despite what people say about Zero Suit Samus and Shulk, I do think Bayonetta is just too sexual of a character to put in the game. I just think she is, I just think she's just too sexual to throw in there. And I would throw Shovel Knight in there as well, as a very likely contender. And let me throw one of the more regular ones in there. Maybe Wonder Red. Maybe Wonder Red would be a good one.
I think Wonder Red, would play a bit like Omar, simply because, you'd have to, it'd have to be either the large group or several people with him.
Sure. Yeah. Yep, but no, I'm right there with you. King K. Rool, Inkling, Paper Mario, possibly Wonder Red, Shantae, and Shovel Knight seem to be really prominent choices. I'd much rather have Shantae over Shovel Knight any day, but that's just me. So, yeah, I think we've really covered everything. I mean, we're only about 4, 5, or 6 days in, and it's certainly going to get interesting. I mean, like we said before, even companies are tweeting it. Microsoft said they're cool with it. Konami retweeted about Snake. Yacht Club wants Shovel Knight. Nicholas wants quote whatever the hell that's from. I can't remember. And Way Forward really wants Shantae. So even companies are really getting into it. Everybody wants in on Smash.
I mean, Smash is big, and this Smash, it annoyed people when it first launched with lacking a few previous features, but I mean, it's still overall it's a great game, and it destroys friendships. Don't play it against your friends.
Yeah, man, I would love to have a Shantae amiibo. It would be so good. So, anyway, well, guys, that is our video. Thank you again, as always, for watching. We appreciate your time. And if you liked what we had to say, feel free to like the video or subscribe to us. We'd love to do more stuff like this and talk about it. Perhaps who knows? Maybe Nintendo will talk about the ballot in the future, and we can have an update video about it. And who knows what'll happen?
And hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. We can continue this conversation there with you guys. I mean, that said, check out some of our other videos on the channel, and we will see you guys next time.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you later. Smash on, everybody.